Hi everybody, my name is Quotidian Light, aka Maya Good. I'm here with Burgess Taylor, and this video is going to go up on both of our channels. We will be talking today about fear. I'm here in Sumter, South Carolina, visiting Burgess and her lovely rock star.
Hello, it's Burgess Taylor, and it's Coffee Tap Monday, and I am with Quotidian Light, who is visiting from all over the United States at this point.
I've been mostly in New Orleans for the last 8 months. Today marks 1 month that I've been hitchhiking. Did you realize that?
No, I did not realize
Yes,
that.
today marks
I've been
1
trying
month.
not to think about you hitchhiking.
Okay, hence we're talking about fear today.
We're
Both
talking
my
about
fear and fear of others.
Yes, yes.
I did a video recently, I think you saw
I
it,
did.
where I had to address a lot of the concerns that were popping up. Because when I told people I was hitchhiking, I got comment after comment after comment telling me to be careful and it's dangerous, and it was actually giving me anxiety. And so when I showed up on your doorstep and I promptly told you guys I'm going to North Carolina next, you guys tried to convince me you were going to drive me to Gastonia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you noticed, I didn't comment on your hitchhiking video stuff about any of that. I refrained because as an adult, you have your big girl panties on and you should be able to choose your own, you know. But as a friend, I was concerned about your well-being. I wasn't concerned about you making right or wrong choices. I was just concerned about your well-being. Being married to somebody who does drive over the road, I know what is out there.
You've heard the stories.
I've seen some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always the safest place to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always safe whether you're in or out of the vehicle. So walking is people on the side of the road with, just a lot of different issues. But I know that you are a smart person and that you follow your intuition and that you have a good intuition. So I really tried hard to refrain. But out of somebody who cares for you, my fear is real that something will happen, but it's not my place.
But you know what? I think it's good that I have you on here. I do think it's good because a lot of people on my channel have had those concerns. They've had those fears. And I think it's good to have them addressed openly. That's not just me telling people, don't be afraid, but, to have a conversation face to face.
And I think facing fears, but especially facing change, whether it's you and something you're doing or it's the people that you care about and something they're doing, fear is a real thing. It's almost a tangible thing sometimes.
Yes.
So, and we do have to, as adults, face fears often enough. And I think sometimes, especially when it comes to other people, and hell with my own damn life, we have to learn how to face those fears and how to work with or around them.
So my philosophy with fear has always been, from the time I was really small, that whenever I feel like a really strong fear of something, usually I'm not talking like an intuitive, like this is weird, like I shouldn't be here kind of fear, just like an unreasonable, like I'm really petrified kind of situation. Those have always been the points in time when I've learned the biggest lessons or I've gotten the biggest payoff. So I've always, when I was afraid of something, that was a sign that whatever it was I was afraid of, I should do. And when I was at the writers' conference, I heard that for the first time out of somebody else's mouth. I was sitting there, and David Gauguin got up to speak, and he said, "Pardon my French. Whenever I'm afraid of something, I know it's because something fucking awesome is about to happen."
Yes, there are two different kinds of fears, and that kind of fear is the fear that's giving you the self-doubt. That's the fear that's giving you the, I couldn't pull this off.
Yeah.
I can't, there's no way I could do that. I'm not talented enough. I'm not good enough. Yeah. That's the fear that makes you feel like you can't change or you don't want to change or it's not time to change yet. The intuitive fear that you were talking about is a completely different kind of fear.
Yeah, that is a something bad is going to happen, get on a different street fear.
Yeah. Don't get in that car fear.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's good that we're talking about this because your channel is really based on creativity. And for people that are watching this on my channel, if you are really into being a creative person, whether that's painting, journaling, or whatever, definitely make sure you follow Burgess Taylor. I will have her information in the down bar. But I think it's good because this is something that you deal with art. I deal with it with writing. This fear. And one of the things I found in hitchhiking is that I had a lot of fear. I didn't necessarily talk about it because I knew that people were going to be afraid. And if I came out with my own fears, then it was just going to feed the demon. And then all I was ever going to hear was, stop hitchhiking. You're going to die.
I noticed in the video where you addressed it that you had your own sort of stereotype of a hitchhiker, that from growing up you had your own idea of what hitchhiking meant, that it was a bad thing, that it was,
Yeah.
and then you had to sort of change your mindset, learn more about it, change your mindset about, because there are a lot of people, it's been that way for a long time on and off, but it was really big in the 70s.
Yeah.
People who are traveling and they're not, and I told her, and I said this in the live, I call it a walkabout, because a walkabout doesn't have the negative connotation that hitchhiking does. What she is essentially doing is a walkabout. Now, in order to do that, she's hitchhiking, but it is a walkabout. She's experiencing life on a whole different level. She's challenging herself. She's doing things that she, what, 2 years ago, a year ago, you would not have thought about doing?
6 months ago, I wouldn't have done it. Someone recently mentioned that just a few weeks ago, like maybe a month and a half ago, I wrote a video about being stuck in my house because I was too afraid to go to an event because of my hearing issues and not being able to hear people and feeling self-conscious and just having that, like, constantly stopping myself.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was not long ago. You know, the fears I had hitchhiking in the beginning, a lot of them came from the stereotypes, but also they came from the fact that I love true crime TV and true crime novels. And so the thoughts of ending up in a ditch with my head cut off, and, being part of crime TV was definitely in the forefront. Like, it's like, hello, and today we're going to look at the case of Maya Goode. Like that was in the forefront of my eyes. So that first time.
I see your killer on America's Most Wanted.
Exactly. That first time I got on the street, and I put my thumb out. That was very different than when I had gone on Craigslist and found my ride with the RV couple. They were like hitchhiking with training wheels. They were the perfect first ride experience for me because it was hitchhiking, but not really. It was like hitchhiking light. But that first time I got on the side of the road and I put my thumb out, I put it back like 4 times. I could not just put my thumb out. I was afraid. I was self-conscious. I was worried people would think I was a homeless person. Like, I had all these internal issues I had to overcome just to put my thumb out that I did not expect. And then periodically along the way, I've had multiple experiences of fear. So when I say, like, I've experienced fear, when I tell people, don't worry about me, I say that from the position of I've had to overcome my own fears in order to do what I'm doing. I've had multiple times where I've been afraid that I couldn't go the next step. Like when I was in Sunny Isles and I couldn't get a ride out. And I was planning on leaving, like, I think it was like on a Thursday morning. And I could not get a ride out of Sunny Isles. And I ended up staying the night, an extra night on the beach. And my first thought was, maybe this is where all the wheels come off. This is how Maya ends up being a homeless person, getting stuck in Sunny Isle and can't get the hell out of the city. Like I had that thought in the back of my head. And then I had to overcome that in order to get up the next morning and walk my butt to North Miami in order to find a ride out of Miami.
Yeah. You've come a long way.
Yeah. It's been a long way. It's been a long way. I'm no longer afraid that I'm going to get stuck somewhere. I know that if I'm just patient enough, it's the law of numbers. Somebody's going to pick me up. I've learned that most people are good people. And I did not believe that. I did not think so. Like, I was the first to say I trust people to be assholes. Yeah. I did not trust people to be good people. And I have met so many good people on this journey compared to what I thought was out there.
Yeah, Mr. Rockstar is really anxious about her hitchhiking.
Yeah.
So I'm driving her just
halfway.
Far enough, almost
far enough that he cannot be so
halfway. It's a compromise, y'all. It's a compromise. Mm-hmm. I know the area that she would have to hitchhike up if she left from here, and it would be few and far would be less than her percentage there that she's thinking.
Hey, but I got a ride to your house. Hey, I got a ride to your house.
But where did you get the ride from?
I got it from Alculu.
What I'm thinking, is that if I can get her far enough to where a place off the interstate, he is a truck driver. So if I can get her to an intersection off of where I know she has a much better chance of getting a good ride, I'm going to do that. If it were up to me, I would take her all the way to where she's going. I have a convertible. I can put the top down. We can ride.
But I put my foot down because I want to experience the area. Like, one of the things that I'm getting is every ride I understand humanity better and I understand the parts of the country better. And I was talking to someone about this yesterday. I was interviewed on someone's show, and we were talking about the fact that I had originally planned on leaving the U.S. last year.
I know.
And I didn't, remember?
And you ended up in New Orleans.
I ended up in New Orleans. And at the time, I was really upset with myself, and I realized why that happened. When I was planning on leaving the U.S., I was really mad at the U.S. Like, I was not having a good relationship with my country at that point. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was not feeling good about the average American. I was not feeling good about, everything. I was just like, my country don't want me here, so I'm out. Like, that's where my mind was at. And through this trip, I have learned, I've fallen back in love with my country. So now when I do leave the country, it's going to have a different perspective, and I think this was important for me to do before I leave the country, because now I'm going to see the rest of the world in a different way. But also, it has removed so much fear. Like my head, perfect example.
This was fun.
Yeah. I have wanted a lock mohawk for at least a decade. I've never done it because I've always been afraid. How many seconds did it take me to decide to do it?
Not very many once you made up your mind.
That would not have happened 4 weeks ago.
It definitely wouldn't have happened 4 months ago.
Definitely. It was like one of these things of, I'm in her house, I have somebody that can check my part for me, it's time. And I just did it. And I felt joyful about it. I didn't have any attachments to it. I didn't hold on to the locks.
Just there.
Yeah, I was just, bam, gone. And I think it's because this practice of being through constant obstacles and overcoming them, now I'm no longer afraid of things. Like when I was stuck in Hollyhock, I was not afraid in Hollyhock. I just hoofed my butt to the nearest light and took a nap at a gas station. I was not afraid. 2 weeks ago, I would have been afraid. I'm stuck in this area. There's no lights. There's one gas station. There's hardly any traffic. What am I going to do?
Yeah, I understand changing things. One, broaden your horizons. Two, get to a point where you're looking fear in the face and you're going, ha, 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 watch me.
Yeah.
I have been through a lot of changes creatively. A long time away from writing fiction, a long time away from creating art. And then
you've overcome a lot of your own internal obstacles.
You jump back into those things, and with each step you take towards conquering those fears, those kinds of fears we're talking about that are actual obstacles, each time you conquer the fear, whether it's a little fear or a gigantic fear, like having a lock mohawk
and thinking my face is going to look fatter with a lock mohawk.
Each time you conquer one of those fears, it gives you more self-confidence. And then the next time you're looking at a fear and you're thinking about facing it down, it's a lot easier to face that fear down when that fear is an obstacle.
So I have a question for you. I know you've overcome a lot of fears in getting more creative, writing books, recognizing
getting on YouTube.
Maybe the fear of realizing that maybe you're more into creativity instead of writing. What have you done to teach yourself to overcome those fears and not be stagnated by them?
I don't think I'm more into creativity than writing. I think writing has sort of taken a back seat because I've found
so many other loves.
Writing and reading were writing in all kinds of ways. Writing as in a journal or diary. Reading, those were not only my escapes, but they were what kept my anxiety and my depression sort of not completely at bay, but more manageable. And the more I got into creativity in general, ways to expand my writing, ways to expand my creativity, getting back into art, getting back into wanting to write in different ways, not just fiction or not just short stories. Or I'm realizing that maybe for now, writing is taking a different route.
Yeah.
It's not where I thought it was going to go.
But it's going to go someplace amazing.
But I'm still writing.
Yeah.
But I've realized that my writing is going in a different direction than I would have imagined. And if you'd asked me this a year ago or 6 months ago, I probably would have been like, huh?
Yeah.
I wouldn't
it's about being open to those changes. You know, I don't think people have to do something totally crazy and hitchhike across the country in order to overcome their fears. I don't. I think that's just how it happened for me because I had that pull.
You started facing fears. I remember your first "I'm going minimalistic" video,
Yeah.
and you were sitting down in the floor of your apartment going through stuff. And now I'm looking at your bag, and I'm remembering that video, and you didn't
That was
want
a
to
lot of
part.
fear.
You didn't want to part with this, and you didn't want to part with that. And I remember that video and how
And the
far.
5 versions of the same cleaning supplies.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It's about little fears. I think the practice of overcoming fears makes it so that fear becomes less of an obstacle. It's like, oh, I see you, fear. You're just fear because you've practiced overcoming it on a regular basis. It's like when you finish your first novel. When you finish that, before you finish that first rough draft, you're just like, I can't finish a rough draft. And then you finish that first rough draft.
I'm never gonna.
That second one just is like piece of cake because you finished one. But then it comes down like I'm stagnated right now with finishing a revision. But I know once I finish revising that first novel, that's going to remove the fear that maybe I'm not capable of revising a novel.
I finished one that was a crap one.
I had a crap one too.
I finished it. And even though it was a crap novel and it will never see the light of day anywhere, once I finished it, I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. And I think part of the writing for me has been I have second guessed myself because of perfectionism.
Yeah.
Because what I'm looking at is a rough draft, but what I see when I read is a polished version. And I've had to address several of those issues. I've done it in videos where you talk about perfectionism and you talk about the self-doubt and the fear, and you're comparing yourself to others. I realized in the back of my head I needed to take some time away from it for a completely different reason than before. Before, I was afraid I couldn't finish it. Before, I was afraid I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
This time, I'm realizing that I'm not looking at what is really there, and I need to be able to look at what is really there. I'm looking at what I see in my head as the final version, and that's not what I have in front of me. I need to finish my novel as a rough draft.
Yeah.
And I realize that my writing has taken a different route than what I thought it would be originally. I've realized that I don't have to lock myself into any, because you get on YouTube, you get on blogs, you get on writing workshops and all kinds of things that are fine, and everybody's talking about, the first thing they ask you is, what genre are you writing? And Maya and I were talking about that, and I don't fit into one because I'm steady looking at my novel going, well, if I click off these boxes, I've got a lot of boxes. So it doesn't fit into, and I'm sitting there as a writer and I'm trying to fit it into a box, and I don't have to. Now, when it comes to certain things, you have to. Like certain things you have to follow the rules, and other times you don't have to follow the rules. And as a new writer, because it's been a long time since I wrote, it gets a bit confusing, and then you get afraid.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's really good, you mentioned when I started my minimalism, and I would say it goes back even farther. I think the easiest way to learn to overcome fears is to find a small fear. Something that's really small, that if you fail, it doesn't have a huge, like, your life is over kind of situation. But take a small fear and overcome it. Whether that is, I'm too afraid to bake a cake because it's going to be horrible. Well, go ahead, get a recipe, bake that cake. It might be horrible. So what? It's just a horrible cake. And then try it again and overcome it. And just that practice of finding little fears and overcoming them. And then gradually you'll pick up bigger fears and overcome them. And then bigger fears and overcome them. And through the practice of overcoming those fears, fear begins to have less power over your life. And then you can do those amazing, powerful things, whether that is learning how to play a guitar at 50 years old or whatever it is, because you've practiced with these small, insignificant, unreasonable fears that really shouldn't be holding you back from anything.
Yes. I agree wholeheartedly. I just had a flash of a bunch of different things that I have done that were either DIY home projects or art projects or writing projects. Getting up on YouTube was one of those projects. A lot of different little things in my life that have led up to being much more open.
What was your biggest fear when you started YouTube?
I'm a behind the camera kind of person. I don't like photos of myself. I have what I think of as it's a small chin, so no matter what, unless I hold my head a certain way, I look like I have a double chin, even though I don't, because I don't have a dominant chin.
Yeah.
I was afraid that I would make a fool of myself. I was afraid that I would look horrible on camera because the camera, the light, you have to have good lighting. You have to have this. I have anxiety, so I stutter and I hem, haw, pause, and I get distracted, so I ramble because of ADHD. So in the beginning, I didn't edit my videos. I did like 4 or 5 or 6 takes because talking about it got to where I could talk about it without being so nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And
So your biggest fear was that you'd make a fool of yourself.
Right.
So what would have happened if you would have made a fool of yourself?
Then there wouldn't have been any point in doing the videos,
Why?
because the very people I wanted to watch the videos probably would never have gotten to see the videos because it'd be on.
So your biggest fear was that you would go on YouTube, make videos, and no one would watch you.
No one would watch me, or the people that I really wanted to watch would not get a chance to watch because I'd be so afraid of all those assholes out there that are not nice.
So you were also afraid of trolls. You were afraid people were going to be on there and be like, get off YouTube, your lighting's horrible, you're ugly, you have a double chin, like that kind of thing. What have been the positives you've gotten from YouTube?
Well, I think the trolls are still assholes.
Well, yeah, they are.
But I've realized that it's not about me, it's about them when they're doing that. I've also realized that if I want to reach across to an audience of people that are more in that 20-year span of older than me, younger than me, that I've given, or even younger or older or whatever, that I have to do it. If I don't do it, I'm not going to reach them.
Yeah, but you've also got tangible benefits from being on YouTube. You've made friends on YouTube.
I've made friends on YouTube.
We never would have met without YouTube.
Nope. I've made really good friends on YouTube. My writing has improved.
Your journaling?
My journaling, my art. I'm back into art, and I didn't think I would even do that. I started doing it as just a doodle to do like memory keeping, just as a kind of keepsake for my grandson. As I've grown as a person with my channel because I've faced fears I wouldn't have faced.
Yeah.
Because at first, over that first few months, after NaNoWriMo was over, I wasn't going to do any more videos.
Wow.
I started in October preparing for NaNoWriMo.
You were just going to do NaNoWriMo videos.
The only time I was actually going to do videos was for NaNoWriMo. That would a lot less pressure.
Yeah.
And then other
that
people
was
were
your
like,
RV ride.
Right.
That was
my RV ride.
Low barrier to entry.
And because I love the writing community, and it really bolsters people. People step out of their comfort zones to help other people.
Yeah, it's really strong.
Hey, it's a very, very strong, good community for the most part. I think you have negatives in every single thing, but for the most part, I found a lot of positivity.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been so positive, that first round of videos for NaNoWriMo, I probably wouldn't have done any more YouTube at all.
Yeah.
But it was so positive that people were like, no, you can do other videos.
And I think that is usually the way things happen. Like when I think back to all the fears that I have had and made a point to overcome, what I have gotten back has always been much bigger than whatever I was afraid of. So my fear for hitchhiking, I think my biggest fear for hitchhiking, like a legitimate fear that wasn't just me being paranoid, was that I would get stuck somewhere and no one would pick me up. I have never seen a black woman hitchhike, and I'm in the South, and I was afraid that nobody would pick me up and that I would just get stuck out in the middle of nowhere with no way to get home. That was my biggest fear. Now, what have I received in the end? I've received a stronger commitment to my faith. I have received a stronger belief in humanity. I have become a more generous person. I have received a ton of generosity. I've seen amazing areas I never would have seen. Like, this country is gorgeous. Parts of Florida, parts of South Carolina. I'm just at awe of how beautiful
Savannah, Georgia,
America is. And so, like, that fear was so small compared to all the positives I got that I just don't care to be afraid anymore.
Now, and I understand that you were saying that my YouTube was the camper. If it hadn't been for that, I would never be where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Where I'm at right now is I had an opportunity to make the channel grow a whole lot bigger, but it would have been something I would not have sat with.
Yeah.
morally. You know, I had one or two people want to sponsor, one or two, you know, I could have done like a much bigger giveaway, or I could have
Mm-hmm.
done like where, and I wanted it to be slow but sure, slow and steady. I wanted it to be real. Um, what I've gotten out of all of this have been real friendships, has been self-confidence. I've opened myself up and broadened horizons to the point where I've actually got a part-time career out of creativity on Patreon. And I have a journaling Facebook group now, which I would not have had before. I have a much smaller private Facebook group for women and creativity and yourself as a
And we
project
will
kind of
put
thing.
links to this all in the down bar from people from my channel.
But what happened is that from one little thing to another little thing to a bigger little thing to an even bigger little thing, all these different things grew. And I said, oh, wow, I never planned on being on YouTube permanently. I never
Mm-hmm.
planned on being on YouTube for anything other than NaNoWriMo. I didn't plan on having like all the journal stuff.
Yeah.
I had a writing corner when I very first started YouTube. I was in the corner of a room.
I remember.
And that corner, the red desk and the red bookcase have been all over the house.
Yep.
And now I'm in a much more conducive to me spot.
It's a lovely creative space. Like you come into her creative space and you get creative. That's what happened to me. She gave me
she sat at the desk back there.
a lovely traveler's notebook, and I wanted to make it slightly thinner. I wanted to make it regular size, and it was like extended wide size or whatever. And I started doing it. Before I know it, I'm like making things. I've got washi tape. Like you have created a creative space that literally you cannot be in for more than 5 minutes without wanting to make something.
She's got some washi tape to go, y'all.
Yeah, and that's not me. It's all her fault. One of the things
she fixed my fountain pen, but evidently me and that fountain pen are just not getting along.
Yeah,
she can use it, but
I can use it fine.
So
Every time she picks it up, it stops running.
I'm taking it apart, and I'm going to use it for parts, and I'm going to make my own 2 fountain pens out of the one.
Exactly.
Now that I know how to do that.
Now that you know how to do that, one of the things I wanted.
See, I was afraid to take them apart because I don't know enough about them. And then you're like, well, yeah, you have to be careful doing this, but you can take it apart. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
It's another one of those fears.
Right.
It's another one of those fears. One of the things that I want to make a point of is, you know, just because I've been doing all this stuff that seems like huge, I still have fears. You know, just because you overcome fears.
She was afraid to cut the traveler's notebook.
Yeah, I was afraid to cut
the traveler's notebook. And I'm like, it's just
notebook.
A piece of leather.
Yeah, I was afraid I was going to ruin it because it was so beautiful. I have a fear of when I join the monastery that I won't be able to sit, that I won't be able to do full day sits. I know that sounds crazy, but I have a fear that the first time I have to sit for 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon, that I'm not going to be able to do it, and that the monks are going to laugh at me and kick me out. Like, of all the unreasonable fears,
well,
right?
Let me ask the question. How long do you sit when you're doing your work on a computer?
Yeah, but that's on a chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. My fear is
But you've been on the road, so you've had to sit on the concrete, you've had to sit on the grass, so.
And I'm getting in better shape from being on the road. I'm walking a lot more. But it's one of these things where just because you were practicing overcoming fears doesn't mean fear goes away.
No.
It just means that fear means something different to you.
Yeah, I still have fears.
Yeah.
I have fears, and the anxiety kind of perpetuates. It's a constant battle working on those, because anytime you have anxiety and then you get uncomfortable or self-conscious or an actual fear about something, the anxiety just boosts that fear.
Yeah.
So you have to work really hard to get past working through your fear, to face that fear in the face, to literally go, okay, I see you, and you know what, I don't care, or I'm going to beat you, or I'm going to do it anyway. And it makes it harder.
Yeah.
It does. And I applaud you, because I have seen the transformations.
I don't think I could sit back and look at one of my old videos.
From the doing the mohawk to hitchhiking to going to New Orleans. I watched a lot of those videos. I watch pretty much every single video. I don't watch all of the Literary Roadhouse videos, but I do watch some of them. Depends on the book.
Yeah.
Because you talk about a lot of books, so I write them on my wish list. But I've seen a huge transformation, especially over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Especially over the last 6 months.
It's weird because since I'm in it, I can't see it.
Yeah, but I can see it.
But I've heard from other people that they can see it.
For a while there, when you were doing, I remember when you were very first doing those long ass outlining videos, you were glowing when you were doing those videos. I could see the frustration sometimes. I could see the excitement sometimes in your face. And then for a while there, some of your videos, you could tell you were tired, or maybe you were contemplating something and there was something on your mind. But since you've started your journey with this, now some of them, you know, on and off, but when I saw you like with the camper, when you were on the camper going from Texas to Florida, and some of the other videos that you've shot, I've seen you're glowing.
Yeah.
You are glowing now. You are glowing. And for a while there, it was kind of like you were stagnant. I
really felt stagnant too. I felt confused and trapped, and like I didn't know why I wasn't going, you know, and I had stuff that I had to figure out, you know, quite frankly. I definitely felt trapped. I think it's interesting that you could see that in my videos, because I don't look back at my videos. I don't. Ain't that crazy?
I wish that YouTube had a different way to do. I mean, if I wanted to do the comments, I could actually go through the Creator Studio and the Video Manager and that kind of thing. But a lot of times when they come up, when I click on when somebody comments, it actually brings my video up.
Yeah, I can't watch myself on YouTube. One of the things that, you know,
I do so I can get better.
Facing fears,
because,
you know.
Yeah, I never did acting. I never did theater. I never did any of that. And
you get better just through practice.
Yeah, you are a natural at it. I'm working at it. I have to work.
I think you're doing wonderful.
I'm working on it.
You know, going forward, you know, I've got another 2 or 3 weeks before I need to be back in New Orleans. And I love New Orleans, but I'm realizing, like, for a while I was like, you know, if I put down roots somewhere, it'll probably be New Orleans. I'm realizing that's not the case. If I put down roots somewhere, it'll probably be Port Beau, actually. I love Port Beau in Louisiana a lot. I really, really love it. And it's close enough to New Orleans that once I am a Zen teacher, I can teach there. And I've realized that that's something that's really important to me. There aren't very many Black Buddhist teachers in the U.S. or worldwide even, and I know that there are, for multiple reasons, there are barriers to entry, and in New Orleans particularly, I think the teaching of meditation could be really helpful to the community. And so I would like to, you know, once I become a Zen teacher, to go back to New Orleans and teach there. But, you know, going forward, I'm like, what am I going to do now? Because I really don't want to settle in New Orleans now. And I'm going to go back for a writer's residency and stay there to work on my novel, and then I'm going to go to upstate New York. But, you know, from there, where do I go next? You know, now the world is open, because now I don't have all these external, like, roadblocks in the way. It's like anything is open to me now.
But you're still wanting to go to, like, South America?
Yeah, yeah. I probably will leave during winter, I'm thinking. I'm going to be in upstate New York for a couple months.
You don't want to be up north during winter.
No.
Not coming from California and from New Orleans.
But that's another fear. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. That's another fear.
Yeah,
I love this stuff.
I'll tell you something right now. Snow
I'm gonna
boots
freeze my butt off.
And, yeah, you're gonna have to. That pack is gonna weigh, because I'm telling you, I've been up north with David in the truck, and I'm from here.
I was in New York during winter. But you know, like we said, I don't have a fear of it. I'll adjust. I'll adapt. I will change in whatever way I need to in order to make it happen. One of the things that I find interesting now is, as I'm losing fear, I'm having to deal with other people's fears.
Just saying. Winter coats and boots are expensive.
No, it's not just about that.
I'm not talking about fear.
It's about the hitchhiking.
Yes.
Like, other people have their fears for me.
Yes, well, we care about you, and
I don't think it's just about that, though. I think this is really interesting. I actually think this is fascinating.
I applaud you for doing it. My only worry is
that something bad's going to happen to me.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to go into any detail about the horrific things that I imagine, because I watch a lot of
crime
and I read a lot of true crime. I actually have a book about true crime, because as a writer, you need to know how people kill people and where people get killed, and you know how many people get kidnapped and raped.
Not as many as you'd think, actually.
Well, unfortunately, too many. And I don't want my friend Maya to be part of that.
But this is what's interesting. This is what's interesting. Because you have a fear of me being injured, raped, murdered, whatever. I don't. And it's not because I don't believe it can't happen. It's because I'm not attached to my safety. And this sounds a little odd for the non-Buddhists out there, but the Buddhists out there, they get where I'm coming from. Attachment is holding on to something. And dukkha, or what we call suffering, is the difference. It's that space between whatever we're holding on to and whatever reality is. Okay? So for me, I don't actually have a fear of death. I'm not afraid to die. I'm perfectly fine with death. I feel like death will happen when it happens, and if it happens, great, fine. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens next. I did the Lucia 3 thing, which kind of, through lights and stuff, it stimulates like a near-death experience, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is what death is like. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and when I came back, I was kind of sad because I didn't want to come back. It was really trip. It was a trip. Like full-on near-death experience when you're alive and not on drugs. So I don't have a fear of death. I don't have a fear of injury. I've been injured before. I've been treated badly before. I've been abused before. I don't have a fear of it. I've come through the other side. So when you don't have a fear of death and you don't have a fear of being raped and left on the side of the road somewhere with no head, and other people have that fear for you, that becomes less about you and more about them, but it still affects you. And I think that's really, really fascinating.
Well, yes. I don't want to lose you. Yes.
So now
that part is about me. Yes.
I'm learning how to deal with other people's fear in a compassionate way. So, for example, instead of being angry, or instead of being frustrated, or instead of being like, why are you afraid of my death? It has nothing to do with you.
But it does. But it does, because you're my friend.
Exactly. So instead of doing that, I'm learning to acknowledge that fear is more about them than it is about me. And as a compassionate, generous person, I want to alleviate some of those fears. But at the same time, I don't want it to hobble me. I don't want someone else's fear to become my fear, to hold me away from my journey, to pull me back away from finishing my novel, finishing my trip. Who knows? This trip may turn into TED Talks, may turn into a multi-million-dollar business. I may become a famous author. Who knows? Eat, pray, Buddhism, whatever. It can happen. And if I let somebody else,
see the title now.
Fears affect me and hold me back, then that's holding me back from my journey. But at the same time, I have to practice compassion, mindfulness for other people. And so, perfect example is this whole, you're not hitchhiking to Gastonia thing. We're gonna drive you, and I'm like, you ain't driving me all the way to Gastonia.
Mr. Rockstar was pretty adamant, y'all. I mean, he was pretty adamant.
Yeah. And
I had to find a compromise because Maya's going, I'm hitchhiking, and my husband's going,
like, she ain't hitchhiking. And through that meeting of minds and understanding of hearts, I think we came with a compromise. And so facing your fears and suddenly being confronted with other people's fears isn't a reason to dig your heels in and be mean to people or ignore people or get frustrated with people. I mean, you're going to get frustrated, but just work through it.
Which is why I asked you if you would be comfortable with me taking you to a better spot to get a ride from that was, not quite halfway, but close enough where you could experience.
Yeah, I want to experience hitchhiking.
But I know there's not a very close intersection or truck stop.
No, there isn't. It's desolate.
So you have to drive about 45 minutes. We live out in the country, y'all. You have to drive about 45 minutes or so before you're going to get to a spot. And I knew that 45 minutes in the direction we were headed would have put her in a spot that was like,
Yeah. And
so I said, how about we just go about an hour? Because it's a 4-hour drive from where we live to where she's going. I said, how about we go an hour and a half to almost.
Puts me in a better spot so you feel more comfortable.
It's actually probably about an hour and 45 minutes from here, which isn't the whole way. It might be 130, 140 minutes. Yeah. But it puts her where she could actually probably get a ride.
Yeah. Whereas the last ride I had drops me off in Hollyhock, and it was an intersection where literally there's nothing. There's no street lights or anything. And on one side of the freeway is a gas station that closes, I think, at like 9 o'clock.
And I can't do that to you.
It closes at like 9 o'clock. So I got dropped off there.
And I can't do that.
And there was nothing. And then when the gas station opened up in the morning and everything, there was such a low traffic area. I think it took me the longest to find a ride there, but I still found one. But I was on the side of the road for probably a good 5 hours with my thumb out waiting for a ride. Um, and until a wonderful trucker went ahead and picked me up. But it really is the law of averages. It really is a numbers game. You know, the more people I can put my thumb in front of, the faster I will get a ride. Is
in a
what I've
better
learned.
area. And for,
But even
for
in a
not,
bad area.
I'm not talking about a bad area, a better area to be picked up.
Yeah, yeah.
Not as
More
in a good or a
cars.
bad area.
The
but
thing is, if you get if it takes you 200
if
people,
you're at a gas
if
station
1%
that
of people pick
closes,
up a
if you're at a gas station that closes at 9 o'clock at night
There's
and
no
has
traffic.
no traffic, that's a bad area to get picked up in because the likelihood
there's no cars.
right.
It really is. Like I found for myself, I'm getting. I don't know. I haven't counted the cars. I need to because I'm curious. I'm guessing a 2% average. It takes me about 50 cars to get a ride. So if you're in an area where 50 cars pass you really, really quickly, you'll get a ride really, really fast. There's some areas where I get a ride in a half hour. If you're in an area where it takes you 5 hours to see 50 cars, it's going to take 5 hours to get a ride.
I have a question for you while we're on this, since you're sitting to the side of the road and you're you're traveling. You write for a living.
Mm-hmm.
You do other things freelance. It's how you make your money.
Mm-hmm.
But you also are writing for personal.
Mm-hmm.
And you do the Literary Roadhouse, and you have your hand in a couple of coffee cups, tea cups.
Yeah.
How are you managing to get your things done while being on the road?
That is the biggest challenge for me. I haven't been managing well. For work, I've been doing work whenever I am near really good Wi-Fi. So like your house, I've gotten a lot of work done. Work had piled up for like 4 days. So there's stuff that I needed to do 4 days ago that I just got done. Luckily, my client kind of understands, but it wasn't great. Like really wasn't great. I get a lot of work done whenever I'm near Wi-Fi. A lot of times that first day when I'm near Wi-Fi, I'm tired, and so I rest that first day because I need a shower. And like we were talking and I'm like, wait a minute, I need a shower, right? My writing, I have not been writing on this trip. Someone else asked me, are you documenting everything? I have not, because I have been digesting so much that I can't form the words to write yet. I'm going to sit down and write a blog post tonight. It's going to be the first blog post I've written since forever, but also the first time I've written like long form since I started the trip. And it's because I'm overloaded emotionally with so many experiences.
Documenting your journey in blog post format.
I should have been doing it from day one.
Would have been friggin' awesome.
Yeah, I should have been doing it from day one. I was not doing it just because I was so overloaded with so many new experiences. And it's kind of like one of these situations where, you look at pictures I have. There are whole years where I've got like 3 pictures of the kids each year because I was so in the moment of raising my children that I would forget to stand back and take pictures. And I've just gotten better at taking pictures for Instagram, finally. Because I'm one of these people where if I'm experiencing something, I'm not thinking, oh, I need to take pictures of this. I'm thinking, wow, amazing experience. So, I mean, that's something else I'm learning through this. Like my Instagram has gotten a lot better because of this. I'm going to be writing that blog post tonight, and hopefully I will be documenting it for the rest of the trip. One thing I did start doing after about my 5th ride, I started taking really, really short notes on each ride I've gotten because I've met so many amazing people. I don't want to forget what each person gave me. And I do say gave me with a big G because every single person I've gotten in their car, I have received a story. I have gotten a story.
The stories she has gotten have been amazing.
Yeah. And I've gotten so much from every single person. I'm thankful for every single person that gave me a ride. It has been amazing, the stories I've heard, the experiences I've experienced, the suffering I've been witness to, the people just asking my advice for stuff. I'm like, you don't know me, all of that has just been huge. And so I have been taking just a quick couple sentences, not even in my traveler's journal, but like literally in my Hobonichi. My little weeks in the day-to-day portion, I'll just put got a ride in such and such city by and then like a quick shorthand to jog my memory of who that person was.
You were taking pictures here and there, and you put them on Facebook. You showed us some, And I think with those notes, honestly, Maya, this could be like the bomb book. It could be Eat, Pray, Burgess.
I know. Everyone keeps saying that. And I laugh because I'm not a nonfiction writer. But yeah, everyone's been saying that.
Well, it doesn't have to be like, well, I guess it would be nonfiction, but you don't have to think of it that way.
I know.
Think of it as a chronicle of this story, of other people's stories.
Yeah, it's been...
I find it very
absolutely fascinating. And
I buy it.
And what I've learned is, people are not the comment section of YouTube.
No,
people are not Facebook. People are not the comment section of insert random newspaper
and Twitter and all
that. People, they get on there, they vent their frustrations, they act like assholes because they can. Because everyone is so tied up, they can't really express themselves that way anyplace else. But by and large, people are just trying to lead good lives. By and large. People are curious. I have learned that. People are very curious. The questions I've gotten have been hilarious. Like the pastor that asked me 5 times what I was doing because he didn't believe me the first time I answered. It was very adorable. And people are kind. And I've seen generosity. This kills me. I had a homeless guy try to give me $1.
That's sweet.
Yeah. I had a homeless guy with nothing try to give me $1. I'm like, what? Wow. Like, it's one thing to give when you have, but to give when you don't was just fascinating.
There are good people out there. I think by and large we get so caught up in the negativity.
Yeah.
And the negativity that we
forget.
I've been saying on and off. My whole journey through a lot of this has been, my word for last year was positivity, and I learned so much that I know negativity brings negativity. And the more negative you allow in your life, the more negative your life will be. Positivity brings forth positivity, generosity, gratitude, all of those. The more positive you are, the more positive your life and your surroundings and everything else.
And I've heard this talk, and on some level I've kind of agreed, but I've never fully believed it in a literal sense. It's always been a theological thing,
but the homeless guy
but
tried to give
what I have experienced is the more I give, the more people want to give to me. I've given away a lot because my pack was heavy.
I got some stuff.
My pack was freaking heavy.
Before she ever went on this trip, I got some stuff.
So I'm on this trip, and I'm like, this sunscreen doesn't work for me. So I found the palest looking bald homeless person and gave it to him. He was thankful. I gave away my shoes that still got wet, and I was like, I'm not carrying 2 pounds if my feet are still wet. I've given away a lot, and the more I give away, the more I receive in rides that I don't have to wait so long for, food that's just given to me, people offering me a place to stay.
Yeah, she's like, well, you're feeding me? I'm like, Southern hospitality would not allow me not to feed her ass, I'm telling you.
But let me tell you, if I wasn't being so generous along the way, I don't think I would have put myself in a situation where I could have stayed with you and gotten fed by you.
Mm-hmm.
I might have passed South Carolina. And
not really thought about it.
Yeah.
You just would have been.
Yeah. But by suddenly I'm open to, and that's been amazing. And I can't be open if I'm afraid, because when you are open, you're vulnerable.
Right. And that's
so if you're afraid, then you can't be open.
And you can't be vulnerable. Yeah. If you block off that fear, so what you think bad won't happen, you're not going to be vulnerable. And if you're not vulnerable, you can't be open.
Yeah. This has been a great talk. We are at 49 minutes.
Yes.
My videos never are this long.
So we're gonna wrap it up, because although my internet is pretty quick, it's gonna take a while.
It's gonna take 3 hours to upload this video.
It's not that quick, and we both have to upload. So on that note, what we're going to say
before we go, for people that want to know more about Burgess Taylor, okay, you can put in the search bar Burgess Taylor. Burgess, like the guy that wrote Clockwork Orange. Taylor. Aylor?
Taylor.
Okay, there you go. And I will also put a link in the down bar of her Destination Me group, which is a wonderful group.
It's for
women that are trying to be creative in different aspects, whether that is being creative.
But it's a private group, y'all, and we do screen. So
yeah, but contact her. It's an amazing group. She's got a wonderful YouTube channel. I highly, highly recommend it.
And for those of you who don't know, who are on my channel, this is Quotidian Light, also known as Maya Goode. Maya is a writer and another creative person, and she is on a journey.
And we will put my information in her down bar as
Yes.
well.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Ciao.
Bye.